except I'm a conscious being of choice that tends to have his foot on the gas pedal or hovering over it.
Yes. Not a person who's always got it on the brake.
No.
Okay, so we are streaming live now on YouTube. We are here in the studio in Great Barrington on Railroad Street.
Back from Boulder, Colorado, where we were last week.
Yeah, so we were live last week from Boulder, Colorado, from the sweet little hotel room we had. Or it's more than a hotel room because it had like the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
All the things.
All the things.
Plus the things we brought along to make it even more accommodating for all the things.
Yeah, it was a residence inn, so we had like a little kitchen area and a living room and a separate bedroom.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Bath.
Yeah, so we could have friends over and visit and all that, and it's not like a room with two big beds in it. That was in a separate room. So yeah, it was really nice, and that was my first trip to Boulder. Anyway, I'm not following my format.
Let's follow your format.
Okay, so here's the show format over here.
Because tomorrow may rain, and I'll follow the format. So intro, did you do that?
So this is Thriving Live, and it is, I believe, episode 15. I haven't finished loading them all up onto YouTube, but I don't think that matters. And I mean, they will be.
So.
All right. So welcome to Thriving Live with me, Gabrielle Senza, a weekly program featuring inspirational stories, useful tips, actionable techniques on any number of things related to thriving. And so thriving isn't just about work. It's not just about health. It isn't just about money. It's about all the things. And we love to, well, I love to, speaking for myself, I love to explore all the things. And I love to use these practices to create a juicy, abundant life. And that's why I decided to run the show, so that other people, if they found them useful, they too could develop their own juicy, abundant life. And so that's what we're here for. And Dan Ruderman, my special guest for today, and this person who was with me last week as well, he and I are both certified erotic blueprint coaches. And
certified.
Yeah, certified TM. And we just got back from a basically like a week-long.
We spent a week with our peeps. Well, the first half of the week.
Yeah, we were with our mentors and the founder of the Erotic Blueprints, or the person who came up with the whole framework, Jaya, world-renowned sex educator. Yeah. And that was awesome to be in the same room with her. Yeah. We've been studying with Jaya for almost 2 years, two and a half years now. Yeah. And we started right as the pandemic started. So we never had that opportunity to actually have all the coaches in the same space, also with our mentors, Jaya and Ian. So if you visited my website, the More Pleasure Please website, you can find out more about that work, because that's where I talk about erotic blueprints. And there's like a link to the Netflix trailer that came out for the series that Gwyneth Paltrow put up in October, I think, of last year. Oh. That's called Sex, Love, and Goop. Yeah, it's a really fun series. And each show is about 30 to 45 minutes long, and it covers a lot of territory. It's really exciting. So it was super exciting to be in Colorado this past week, in Boulder,
with their teachers and with our peers,
with the other coaches.
Because a live event together is always part of the curriculum. Yeah. And we're the first group that got trained and didn't have that live event. So even though we graduated and certified in 2020, at the end of 2020, it's a year-long program. In a way, this was kind of our graduation ceremony, because we came in and we were with Ian and Jaya and Christian, who's the amazing vocal coach and master blueprint coach also.
Yep.
And so we got to do some learnings and some trainings and some practices with each other and enhance our skills, and also really just spend some time with each other and learn some things.
Yeah, and practice like what are energetic touches, what are sensual touches, what are sexual touches that can go beyond what we've learned, kinky, all the things. And then the shapeshifter, which is sort of like something from everything and more and more and more.
Yeah. So that was the first half of the week. And the second half of the week was their annual event called the Pleasure Island Experience. And that was open to all of us coaches, but only, and to the public, but only if the public had some familiarity with the Blueprint program already and could speak to that, so that it had some advanced understanding of this new way of communicating about erotic energy and about understanding the different styles that are represented by the sensual, the sexual, the energetic, the kinky, and the shapeshifter.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. I really appreciated that the people that were part of the Pleasure Island experience all had that foundation of erotic blueprints. So they weren't just coming in knowing nothing about it, because that would have been a really different experience that I probably would not have enjoyed.
Right.
So,
and I would say the last thing just on that for this, before you do the rest of your intro, is just that what we learned in the program and in the certification training and in our practices and in this weekend was how important setting a container in context is. And that's something that Ian and Jaya and Christian are really, really good at. And we got to see that in the Pleasure Island experience when we, in a way, it was like we had this tight group of 65 or so that had been together for 3.5 days. And then we opened that up, then we opened up that relationship to bring in another 65 people or so. And the only way that kind of thing works is when the containers are set really, really clearly and cleanly. And that's and safety is hot.
Yeah. Consent is hot.
Yeah. Very hot.
Yeah. So we got to practice that a lot. That was really great. And so in terms of setting this container, anyone who's listening in on YouTube or watching in YouTube land, know that this is, if you wanted to come on and join us live in this Zoom format, because we're using Zoom here, you would just go to bit.ly/thriving-live, bit.ly/thriving-live, all one word. And that would give you access to join us on the actual call. So we could actually be in conversation live on the call, which was the point of making it live at 2:00 instead of pre-recording and then posting it. So that's one thing. I invite you to come on in and do that. And you can ask questions, or you can get some support with anything that's coming up for you, either professionally or in a relationship or anything like that. And all the things that are discussed here remain here, although it is, of course, a streaming show. So that's part of the equation. So if you didn't want to be actually known and your face shown, I guess you could just remain.
We support visibility, but we also support confidentiality. So if you're worried about something that you're going to do or say, don't say it here, because this is live and then it's streaming. So this is going to live on the internet. So when you do join us live, just keep that in mind and we'll remind you at the time.
Yeah. What else do I want to mention? Just looking at the notes here.
Well, one of the things that I think you've told me you like to do is just sharing what's helped you in your personal journey. If that's why you created this. True. Your aim, you said, was to help listeners and viewers. Yes, to
help people, perhaps through modeling what's happened to me, to share what I've worked with as techniques to sort of get through, to recognize like how whatever struggles I've had in the past that might have seemed ridiculously insurmountable at the time, I did. Obviously, I'm here, so I got through them, and there have been just phenomenal learnings along the way. And so anything I can share that's helpful for someone else to remember that or to be reminded, I'm here for it. That's why we're doing this. So I come here drawing from my own experiences as an artist, an activist, a mother, a musician, and an empowerment coach and an educator.
Yes.
So
all those things.
All those things. For each of my shows, as well as each of our any events we do or workshops, or if I'm working with a client directly, we always start with pleasure first. So today I invited Dan to lead us through a pleasure first exercise, and feel free to join us if you'd like to. And then we'll go on afterwards, after the pleasure first, which usually is about 5 minutes or so. Then we usually get into a topic of discussion, which actually in all of our excitement, we kind of started early at the top of the show, but maybe we'll go back in and talk about particular things that we want to share.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds
So
juicy.
Dan,
Yes.
what do you have for us today?
Well, here's what I have for you. This is a practice that I've done for many, 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 many years. I think I learned it from a book that my mother gave me when I went to college. And it's a breathing exercise, and it's a good one all by itself. And it's also a great one to do before you do any other breathing exercises, because it's hard to get through a day. It's hard to, you can hardly swing a cat these days without hitting someone who is going to tell you to do a breathing exercise, right? Whether that's in your yoga class or in your mindfulness practice, an insight timer, or whatever it is. So one that I learned a long time ago, and I want to take a little bit of a deep breath, is I think of it as a clearing breath. If you are not used to really full breaths, it's a good one to do sitting down. And if you sit down, have your feet on the ground and your back nice and straight, sit on your sits bones. And what you're gonna do first is take a deep breath. I should say a full breath. And another one. And then the next one, bring your shoulders all the way up to your ears on the in-breath, and push them back, and without moving your neck, drop them on the out-breath. And shake your shoulders out a little bit. You can shake them out by alternating them, like they're like a, what is that called? Seesaw? Yeah. That's stuff that I like to do. And now what I want you to do is take, and I think what I'd like to do, because I won't be able to talk and do this one.
Okay.
Right. So I can, I'm going to describe it, I'll model it, and then I'll walk you through it. Okay. How's that work? I think that'll work fine.
I'll practice it and you lead it. Okay.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe in as full as I can. Now that I've taken a few breaths, I want to breathe in as full as I can. You call it a belly breath or whatever, but it should be full. It should be your belly. It should be your chest. It should include your back body. You're going to breathe all the way in as full of breath as you can. Don't do it yet. And then I'm going to stop at the top, and then I'm going to inhale a little bit more. I'm going to try and get 3 more sips in. So it'll be like, and it's going to feel very, very full. And then I'm going to just pause for a moment and blow out all the air out through my mouth as much as I can, and drop all that air out. And then I'm going to repeat that. And we might do it twice, and we might do it 3 times. So it's, oh, I left one thing out. When you breathe out all the air, when you get to the end of it, and then breathe out a little bit more, a little bit more. So the opposite of what we did at the top, we're going to blow out 3 more times at the end of the year. Does that make sense?
At the end of the year?
Yeah, whatever. I can't speak.
I know we've been traveling. We're both exhausted.
So I'm hoping this is going to enervate me. I know that it will, because yes, we have to tell the truth, right? Which is that the last night in Colorado, we met some lovely people. And so you couldn't say we went to sleep when the sun rose, because we didn't. We did take a 2-hour nap before we got on an airplane, and got home last night after 1 a.m. So
yeah, it was really rich and
it's very rich,
very alive time.
Yes. And right now I'm circling Jupiter instead of being down on Earth grounded. So this will help ground. So if that made sense, I will tell you to do it. You'll be the model. I'm not going to demonstrate it again. I'll just tell you what to do. Okay. So breathe in and out. Would you like
me to focus?
You can go ahead and look at you can look right there. You don't need to, you can see me in the background. You look terrific.
Yeah, thank you.
So breathe in and out. Let that out. Breathe in again, bring your shoulders up when you're ready, and drop it out. And whenever if I say breathe in again, if you're still in the midst of an out breath, finish your breath. You don't have to do it exactly when I say it. Okay. And now take a big full breath all the way from your belly. Fill your front and back bodies all the way up and hold it at the top. And when you're holding it now, sip in again, and sip in a third time. And now let it all out. Let it all out and don't breathe in again. Keep pushing it out. When you get to the end of that, you might pull your belly in a little bit towards the back and now blow out 3 more times. And now breathe in. And fill all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. Hold it at the top. Sip in 3 more. And blow it all out. Blow it out. Bring it to the bottom. If you have a chance, pull your belly button all the way to your spine. And now breathe in. Third and final time, breathe all the way in. Full breath, chest, your back. You get to the top, hold it, sip 3 sips, yep. And blow it all out. All of it out, out, out your body, out, 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 out. When you get to the bottom of that, out. And suck that chest, chuck that belly button in and up. And release. And just take a moment, but you can even close your eyes now because you don't have to look at anything. And just let your arms hang like they are. Notice if your shoulders feel different, even just from that check you did beforehand with the bringing them up to your ears. Feel the sensations in it, in your fingers or ankles, chest. And those kinds of full out breaths with practice on those are the kind that when you see those pictures of the swamis and stuff, when they seem to have no stomachs, they've just brought their navel all the way into their spine, which you only do when you've exhaled all your air. So it's actually an organ massage when you do that. You've got kidneys, and you've got gallbladders, and you've got livers, and your intestines all in this abdominal area, and by blowing the air out and drawing in, you're actually giving them compression, just like if a person laid on your, and Gabrielle and I both love it when we have compression with a person giving us all their weight.
Yeah.
This is a way to give yourself a little compression massage.
Yeah.
It's a way to give one to yourself just through breath alone. I can caution you that it can make you a little airy, a little lightheaded sometimes. I've come very close to falling over, which is why sitting down is the best place to be, because it's the first enervation I'll get sometimes in a long or stressful day. So that's the simple process. I take a long time to describe it. If you're doing it yourself, it's like 2 minutes. It's really 3 giant breaths. And then there's stuff you can do to follow, but that's enough of an introduction to the pleasure first.
That was great.
Like that?
Do you feel enervated though? Because you were instructed, so you were instructing. So did you?
Yeah,
really
but when I was like demonstrating it, and then I was using all the wrong words because I couldn't speak anymore, I really got that full. So when I do it, it's like this.
Shoulders are up and going back. Blowing out. All the way empty, and now push, push, push. Massage those organs. Again, all the way up. Sip in more. Let it all out. And a big breath. It's all out, and then push up whatever's left, pulling in your stomach, squeezing your belly button to the spine. Third and final inhale all the way up, hold it, sip 3 more bits of air. Let it all out. And now just breathe normally. Let your body settle. Feel how it feels with this activation.
And now I realize that the lie of omission is that that's the warm-up breath. So the next time you have me back, we'll start with that as the warm-up, and then we'll go into the box breathings, where we do 4, in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. Do that 4 times. And then we do in 6, hold 6, out 6, hold 6, and do that 4 times. And then we do in 8, hold 8, down 8, hold 8, and do that 4 times. And that brings me such a peace, especially as a kind of person that likes to count and keep my mind as part of the focus, or a way to get my focus is to count those breaths.
Right.
You can do it with a metronome or something else that plays a metronome beat if you want.
That's a good idea.
And then when that's done, it's usually you can let normal breathing, or you can go into an in 4, hold 2, out 4, hold 2 pattern, which can become the regular way of breathing through your next set of activities, especially if you're sitting and doing working, studying, or reading, or writing.
Wow. Thank you for that pleasure. First, how are you feeling now?
I feel terrific.
Now
I love that great big breath. And I did one during the week. I was really feeling out of sorts, and we were sitting and listening to some really good information. So I just did that, the 3 really big ones, and I got like subluxation in my mid spinal area and mid chest area, like a subluxation, cracked and popped, and I got little stars and tingles all in my peripheral vision.
Oh my gosh.
And felt like it's like a Control Alt Delete. It's like this instant reboot. And as you know, I do 20-minute naps as reboots. This is shorter than a 20-minute nap.
Right. So, that's so awesome. Yeah. And actually, speaking of reboots, you taught me how to do the sort of super fast cat nap, like not even 20 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. And it's not even really a nap. It's just a hypnotic state for relaxation, for refreshing, restarting, like you said. And that process has really helped me. Like I did it earlier today. It's like I can set my alarm and know that as long as I'm in that deep breathing, slow state, that I will come out of it feeling super refreshed and as though I had had a 3-hour nap or a 2-hour nap or a full night's rest or whatever. So it's pretty remarkable how we can change our inner state, our physiological state, as well as our mind state with practice, with breath, with focus.
Some of it for me is just, it's a realizing that most of us know how to do anything we want and need to do, that we're doing it someplace in our life. And it's a matter of accessing those resources and maybe stringing them together. So it's kind of like I could call you on the telephone, or you could call me, and our numbers, the first 6 digits are the same.
Right.
But the last 4 are different. And so depending on which one I dial, I'll get a very different outcome, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a great analogy. I love it.
And so the hypnotic techniques that I use are really about communication and relationship with yourself, because I'm a proponent of self-hypnosis and teaching that rather than continuing the patriarchy and just imposing hypnosis on other people. So the nap thing that you're talking about, the power nap, is comprised of things that we all know and have experienced, which is we've all experienced deep, deep sleep, which is the deepest restoration for the body. And we've all experienced dream sleep, which seems to be related to mind processing stuff. So theta versus delta, right? And we also have internal clocks. A lot of us like to socially abuse our relationships with our internal clocks, or pretend that they don't exist or not understand them. So there's a trust, which is why it's about communication. But if you take those things that I said and we've all experienced time distortion.
Yeah.
Right. So when have we experienced time distortion? Anytime you've ever been in a car or in transport and arrived someplace and couldn't say what happened in between. Like the time just went like that. And whenever you've
Yeah,
had that
I was
experience of
gonna
time
say-
just flew by.
Right. Or I was going to say, like, when I'm journaling or in the creative process, then like time just disappears. And it's like, oh my gosh, how did those 5
Exactly.
hours just pass by? It
Right.
felt like 15 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So zone state, any kind of zone state. The weird thing
Mhm.
is that travel in cars sometimes puts you into it. It's a different zone, but in
Mhm.
both of those, you have time distortion.
Yeah.
So if you have time distortion and you know that a delta sleep is deeply restorative, right? And you have a good relationship with yourself and an internal clock. And if you think about it, that's all I said to you to do is just go inside and say, I need to take a nap. I need to rest and reboot. I'm going to close my eyes for 20 minutes. I'd like to go into a deep delta sleep, deep restorative. I don't have to have dreams. I don't have to remember it. And I'm going to awake in a way that we maybe not as often as we wish, but we all have experienced awakening refreshed.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm going to awaken refreshed and alert and ready for what's next.
Yeah.
And then you can close your eyes and you'll be surprised how fast your brain will say, what a freaking great idea. Drops the hammer on you, you're out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
minutes later, your eyes can pop open. And with practice, it's 20 minutes. You can set your alarm for
Yeah. I often
21.
do 5. I
Yeah,
often do
or
5 or
5.
7.
Yep.
Like often
Right.
if there's a session I'm going to do with a client and I haven't like properly taken care of myself and made sure I ate at the right time, made sure I got
Yeah.
enough rest and did all the things. And I know that I'm in this, like I really want to feel refreshed, then I'll just do that practice. And I don't
Right.
even say I need to or I want to. I
Mhm.
just say like, I
It's
know
time.
that with this breath, I will be refreshed and relaxed, and I will go into a deep meditative, I don't even say meditative, deep relaxed state and awake and a deeply refreshed, rejuvenated way. I'll feel rejuvenated. I'll be ready to go. I'll be awake and alive and ready, So it's
Beautiful.
basically the same stuff. It's just without
Yeah.
all the stuff like I need or want. It's
Yeah.
just like, this is what's happening.
Good for you. That's so beautifully the way you've made it your own, which is what it's about. Make it your own, have your own relationship with your unconscious mind, with your brain to get what you want.
Yeah.
You can add the command of even we're going to take all the time that we need to go as deeply as we need to get this done and to rest and restore, even if it's only 5 minutes of clock time.
That's
it
nice.
can feel
Yeah.
like as much time all the time in the world.
Right.
And you add that little command, and then you're telling your brain, do what it needs to do without concern. In a blueprint language, you're helping the energetic set a container and know what the safety lines are, so it doesn't have to worry about it.
Right.
Right. And then you're saying, have that experience that we've had before of taking all the time in the world. Right. It's a meaningless expression. Time doesn't exist in the world. Time isn't a thing that one
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
Right. So you're combining those things, and your brain knows that you're at what you're asking for, and it will just deliver it to you. And then just show appreciation to that beautiful brain, that beautiful unconscious mind. Everybody these days uses the term brain when they're talking about their unconscious mind. Right? So you could call it your higher self, anything you'd like. It's
True.
just recognizing that there are parts of you that aren't this verbose Dan Ruderman yak 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 stuff. They're not the ego, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just other parts
Yeah.
that know how to do these things, and you're inviting them to do their thing, and you're subtly saying that you're going to stay the heck out of the way so they can get them done.
Right. Right. And it's like, inevitably thoughts come in while you're trying to do this practice, like the rest or the meditation or whatever the thing is that you're trying to do to get that deep relaxation. And thoughts will come in, and just like we can't catch a cloud, like I can't actually grab a cloud, go like, oh yeah, I really want to dig into this and figure it all out. It's like, no, okay, great. It's just going. Right. And then the next thought might come in. It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to think about it. No, it's just a cloud. It's just going away. Right. Just like, I love that. Like you can't actually hold a cloud, right? You can't contain it or anything. And so that's how any of those thoughts that come in, it's just like, oh good, this is that time where they just get to drift by like clouds, which is such a relief, because they'll be back later.
Yeah.
But it's like, for now, it's like, oh, we don't have
Let
to think
them go.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. That was
No,
fun.
thank you.
Oh, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
So I don't, as often is the case with my Thriving Live show on Tuesdays at 2. I don't really have a particular plan of action or topic to discuss. And I figured since we were coming back from this event, we might just naturally come up with something we wanted to talk about, or I just usually trust whatever's coming up. So do you have any particular things you want to share, Dan, about our trip or anything that's coming up for you?
Well, that's interesting because all sorts of things came up with that. Like, what things do I want to share? Oh, yeah. And I was like, oh, no, probably shouldn't share those things. Let me think, what else came up? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I probably shouldn't share that thing. So I'll share that I had some things that happened that came up, some wins, some really fun, deep, meaningful connections with people that I could talk about another time. They were, I have rarely felt so connected with a body of people, a group of people. I'm not much of a joiner. I'm not a member of the first group that I ever joined that I felt like accepted me unconditionally was probably Alcoholics Anonymous a bunch of years ago.
That was the first group that you felt
that I ever felt like I
accepted you?
belonged in. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you know, and the bad news of that was I
Right.
belonged because I fucked up so many things. So I was
Yeah.
with a group of fuck ups who were all trying to get better.
Right.
And in this group, it's a group of people who are all lovely and trying to do better and trying to make the world a better place, more connected to their erotic power, and to use erotic power as a path to connection, as a path to spirituality, as a path to personal growth.
Mhm.
It's not just, it's none of the things that are sort of traditional in American culture about sex, which the first word that comes to my mind when I think about normal people and thinking about sex is tittering. You know, it's like, oh, sex. Yeah. And that kind of thing brings me back to like middle school or earlier, you know,
And that's when you roll your eyes and like, you're like, oh, aren't we beyond this yet?
yeah.
You know,
And
like,
we're not. A lot of people are not.
right. Because we just get that
Yeah.
conditioning reinforced every single day
Right.
in all the different ways.
So being with people who are just own it, they're unashamed, they love it, and they're trying to understand it better. And this program that came up with this framework of these blueprints, which is so helpful in relationships and in relationships, not just in
not just intimate relationships,
not just intimate relationships, but all relationships, right? So like the sexual blueprint, which sounds sexual, is really about people that go get right to the point, get things done. For them, sex is orgasms, it's body parts, it's all that.
And they want to know that they'll get the thing done. That
Right.
like, okay, I'm willing to sit here with you and be in this meeting or be in this engagement, whatever the thing is. And
Yes.
we will be signing that contract at the end, or we will be having sex at the end, or
Yeah.
we will, whatever the purpose of that meeting is, we'll have the conclusion that I came here to get.
Right. So
You know?
sexuals in a dating situation are the ones that legitimately, because of their own blueprint, feel like if I take you to dinner, it's because we're having sex afterwards. Like, which is what leads
It's
to
a very
that really
transactional
shitty
thing, right?
and it leads to that
Yeah.
really shitty thing that's like, well, I was going to go to just dinner, and I
Right.
don't appreciate the pressure at the end that I now have to have sex with this person because they took me to dinner.
Right.
That's
We're
whereas
blowing that up.
we could think of that as being evil and wrong, right? And it is if it's power that's abused, right?
Right.
But it can also be that the person that thought that is a sexual blueprint person. So they think the goal is sex.
Mhm.
Dinner is just the thing I'm doing on the way.
Well, what would be nice in that case, though, is that that person would acknowledge and state that.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
just be like, can I invite you to dinner?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd love to take you, almost like you did. Like,
I was thinking that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you cut straight to the chase.
Hey, you know what? I'm wondering if you would be interested in ever sleeping with me and having sex with me, because I think
Right.
you're really attractive.
Yeah. And that was so
That was-
great for me. Like to just be like, oh, intentions are super clear here. We're not playing any games. This is like a real honest communication. And I respected that. I appreciated that so much that I was like, let me think. Yeah,
Yeah, so
sure.
almost 3 years later, and we're still talking to each other. And we had some dinners too.
We did.
So
It was so nice.
it's that kind of thing. And the group we were with, just this notion of setting a container, even if you don't call it that, like you don't have to use any woo-woo words or any new age stuff or progressive or left wing or label anything. There's people from all
Let's
walks
set
of
the
life.
agreements. Let's set the
Let's set the
intentions for
agreements,
this
right.
particular session or meeting.
So
right?
that like Netflix and chill, like, we all know that now has a meaning. I didn't know that. It took me a while. It's like, hey, do you want to just do Netflix and chill? And I thought it meant like watch something on TV and hang out on the couch and maybe eat popcorn and get popcorn bits on my chest.
It doesn't mean that.
No, it's a euphemism for come on over and we'll turn on Netflix, but we'll have sex.
Oh.
Yeah. And
It's
so I
like-
didn't know that.
Like the use of the term, like, oh, we're playing board games. You want to come over in California, right?
Right.
Is that where? Yeah.
Yes, where people I know
Like-
that moved from the East Coast that had like Taco Tuesdays or board game
They love
Fridays
board games for real. Like
go out to
backgammon and stuff.
a new community and get invited to board game night. But it's
And they're all in for that. And then it's like, oh my God, there are no board games anywhere. And we didn't bring our backgammon kit. you
Right.
know?
So you can have
Yeah,
those,
it's
you
pretty
can have those when everybody knows them, but what if it was just more open and what if it's like, hey, I'm really interested in getting to know you better and I'm wondering if you would come over, we'll hang out, maybe we'll have a meal, I could cook something or bring something. And you know, I have an interest in you too, so we could talk about whether or not that goes any further.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And actually just to, in terms of that very direct pickup line you made, I also actually knew this guy for many years. So it wasn't like a total stranger asking me that question. And in that case, I would not have had that same answer. I would have been like, why don't we start with a few dates first and see how that goes, you know, and just be really clear about
Yeah.
that. Although there's nothing wrong with, you know, saying yes to a total stranger, if that's what, I mean, I've done that in the past. It just wasn't with you. You were not the stranger.
No.
So many things. And that's what's one of the beautiful things that is routinely taught in this community. And it's kind of sets it apart from other communities, is that there are these very clear consent conversations and teaching people that that we're all responsible for our own safety, being able to find safety within. That doesn't mean finding our own safety in a container that there are a lot of dangerous people, and it's not that. It's about being able to stay aware and connected enough to the signals in your body to say, I'm not feeling safe with these people. I'm either going to go out or whatever it is that you need to do. But in this case, what we're talking about is this: the container had been set. We're in this training. We're learning about how to ask for pleasure, different sensations on the body, or whispers in the ears, or whatever the things are that people are desiring. And we're doing this all within this container of safety and consent that we had all agreed to, you know, confidentiality, generosity, celebration, right?
Communication,
uprighting people, consent. One of the ones I loved is I'm a yes until I'm a no. That was one for people who often have already been through this territory for a while now and have either practiced or taught or that kind of thing. So they felt like they really can receive a whole lot of different kinds of sensations and experiences without their systems getting overloaded, you know. But I'm an energetic, so like my system can get overloaded really fast because, and especially when things are all new and there are a lot of people in the room.
And what can happen if you're, so to an energetic, to your point, somebody that's experienced something before can say, I'm a yes until I'm no. It doesn't just mean that they have experience with these sensations or this amount of energy. It means that there's a way that they have of staying present to what's going on inside of them, so that they can say, oh, that doesn't feel good.
Right.
And how is that different for an energetic that may not have experienced this before?
The yes until it's no. Well, I wouldn't be a yes until I'm a no in that situation, and I wasn't. I made it pretty clear, or very clear, that, you know, these sensations I'm willing to have in these areas on my body, and these other areas are off limits. I don't want this kind of sensation. I don't remember if there was anything I didn't want, but
you listed some things that you didn't want at the beginning.
Right. But I mean, in terms of sensations.
Yeah, no. But what I'm thinking of is also if you're an energetic and you get into an overwhelmed state, it's not, it's, you might lose the ability to take care of yourself.
Right.
Because you're in a state of overwhelm, and so that stopping it from happening, saying something might not happen. And also it can be that you've had experiences where you let something happen that you didn't want to have happen, and so it triggers that.
Right. Like even saying yes or not saying no when I was feeling a no.
Right.
You know, like actually even somebody at this event, like wanting to snuggle up close with me and did ask even permission. And there's an old part of me that still functions and wants to be the nice person that never rejects anyone or hurts anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Even if it's against my own desire or my own comfortable thing, which is something that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And so that was challenged a few times during this weekend. And that's the thing. It's like, what's beautiful about the community is I could have very well said, let me stop for a second here. Let me pause and feel into if I'm a yes or a no. One of the other cool agreements in this group is if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no.
Right. So a consent, should we model a consent conversation?
Sure.
That might be a way to do it.
Yeah,
So
that'd be fun.
the scenario will be, I am going to be, I'm really tired. I've been up and I have a bunch of like really linear, like sexually oriented things to do, in a sense. I've got to do all these really linear things. I got to take a lot of material and turn it into like bullet points, get it to the right place and do that. That's what I have to do for the rest of this afternoon.
But they're not sexually
I don't mean that they're sexually,
they're not about
from an
sexual
energetic
things.
perspective, it's very much bing, bing, bing.
Right,
And a lot
gotta
of
get through
business
this
is bing,
list.
bing, bing. You know,
Yeah,
it's not
for
that,
sure.
it's business. I got my 3 bullet points. Here's the 7 things, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
But
just to clarify.
your feelings don't matter. We're getting this thing done, right?
Right.
So
Doesn't matter what kind of mood
that's
you're
what I meant,
in, or
right.
if you feel inspired, we're doing this thing.
So since I'm kind of tired, what I'd love to do is when we're done here, I'd love to lie down on the yoga mat that we have in the back, keep my clothes on, and I want you to just like energetically shower me with vibes that are going to make me feel better. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Okay, good.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you're welcome. And do you have any questions for me about what I want or don't want in that experience, or what that means?
Yes, I would love some clarification.
Okay.
It sounds like a great request, but it is a little like ambiguous. So
Yeah.
could you tell me what you would really like
to
to experience
yes.
and what you would not want to experience in
good.
that option?
Well, what I'm picturing is myself lying on my face down.
Okay.
Again,
So
I'm gonna
belly
keep my
down.
clothes on, belly down, and I'll lie like this with my head to the side because I'm still thinking about what I want, and my
Mhm.
hands out, and I want you to like drum on
Drum
me
on your
from
body.
head to toe.
Okay. Do you want voice as well, or do you want to just be like,
Oh, voice
with
as well would
percussion?
be great. Like words of affirmation would be really nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
and positive suggestions for how much energy I'll have when I'm done. That would be
Ooh,
awesome.
that sounds like such a cool practice. I like
Yeah.
that. Oh, maybe we're creating something new
Yeah.
and innovative.
And what I don't want is I don't want you to do too much on my neck, because I know that in that position, they could get strained. So
Right. Okay.
yeah. So then just drum on me.
All right. Any parts you don't want me to touch other than your neck?
No.
I could pat on your head.
No, and
Little
definitely
bit.
like I can feel
How about on
tension
your
on my
bottom?
buns, and that's one of the fastest ways to relax me is with some pounding there.
Okay. And do you want like this kind, or like?
Oh, right. I would love flat-handed first,
Mhm.
like rapid and flat-handed
Do it on here so I also know that. That's great.
like that.
So that I learned actually this weekend is when somebody said, I like my body, I like the sensual touch, but I like it to be firm. And she demonstrated, she said, I want it to be like this, which was great because I would not have touched her that firmly. I would have
Right.
been more like this.
And there was 3 of us she was asking that. She
Yeah.
had on
She
that
did it with each person.
dress, and she took each of our hands and
Yeah.
demonstrated
That
as if she was like
great.
as if she was a Swedish massage person or something.
Yeah,
which
it
is
was
what
that strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that
the
first,
open
and then
hand
after you do that first, the second time with fists.
Okay.
And either side, yeah, probably the side of the fist, or
Okay.
whatever's comfortable for you, and then do the same thing,
Let me
pounding.
just feel how.
Well, this is So it would be harder than this. It'd be like this.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And then when that's done, just an energy brush where you have your hands anywhere from 3 inches to a foot away from my body and just start at the head and like as if you had whisk brooms in your hands.
Sweeping
and you're sweeping all the energy down from my head to my feet.
Okay.
Okay.
I would love to do that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So that was a request
Mhm.
that I thought was clear when I first made it, and I had images in it, but I didn't look at the details. I make pictures really quickly in my head, and I don't always look at the details
Yeah.
until somebody asks me questions.
The
So,
specifics. Yes, it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Super, super helpful to get clear on it. And that of course can translate into any communication, even about like, hey, would you take care of my cats for me
right.
while I'm away for a week? Okay, well, there are a whole lot of logistics to that. When do they get fed? How many times a day? Are there any special order of things? Is there any medication? How often do I change the cat litter box? Where is the cat litter
Do they
box?
need to be
You
played
know.
with? Do they go in and out of the house?
Right. Do you need me to stay over or do I just drop by?
And we all know those things, but we don't do them when it comes to relationships. And it's like we just pretend. So that same conversation we had can also be about intimacy,
Mhm.
right? So it could be, oh, honey, it's Wednesday night and we haven't made love in a week and the kids are at Elmer's house. So why don't we have sex tonight?
And I'd be like, I don't know about that invitation.
Yeah. Well, how about if, because I know that you're energetic, how about if we,
Shapeshifter energetic. So there are a lot of things that I adore. But one of the few things I do not adore is just like, hey, do you want to get together and have sex now?
Yeah.
Right. The invitation in the beginning that he talked about when his pickup line was not about this minute.
right,
It's just like, would you consider having sex with me?
Yeah.
Getting together and having a night, having sex or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's really clear. No pressure.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I interrupted
So
you.
that's okay. So what I was thinking is for tonight is we eat an early dinner, feed the kids. I'm pretending we have kids because
Okay.
I'm also modeling it for parents that are too
Right.
busy
Yeah.
and are waiting for that spontaneous sex to happen and it never happens and the relationship just gets really filled with resentments and
Right.
needs and desires. So
Yeah.
pretending it's that, we'll feed the kids early, get them out the door to Elmer's. We'll have 2.5 hours. I know you're probably exhausted. So one of the things I'll do is I'll make sure I bring some flowers and put them on the table because it's going to smell great. And then I'm going to like to I'll brush your shoulders off like an energy brush and relax you. And then I'm going to have already started the bath upstairs. So
Oh,
you
that
can go
sounds
upstairs
lovely.
and have a bath. And then when you come into the room, what I'd really love to do is just sit and look at you for a little while because I don't think you know how much and how good it makes me feel just looking at your beauty. And then maybe we just start touching each other with the lightest touches that we can think of that then move into a more connected touch with longer strokes. So we could just sit on the bed opposite each other and just touch each other with the tips of our fingers. That's what I'd like to do tonight. And then after a while,
Energetic.
when that feels really good, maybe put a little bit more pressure on your shoulders and touch every inch of you in that way without spending too much time on any one place. And then after we're both all relaxed and connected like that, we can see what we want to do next. But I have some ideas that I'll share with you then. How would that be?
I wouldn't want to turn that evening down. That's a fuck yes.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So
then
there's
let's
a
do that
demo
tomorrow night
conversation.
because today's
Yeah, 'cause
Tuesday and I
today's
can't do that
Tuesday.
tonight. I'll be
Oh,
too
you're
tired.
such a tease. I have to wait another whole
Well,
day.
in real life,
Right.
I am inviting you to that for Wednesday night.
Oh, good. I'm a yes to that.
Okay, good.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, and that would be a time for you to surface some things, but I did take a little chance there and I sort of knew that you like to be clean before you do things. So that's why I said I'd run the bath for you so you could have a bath. which is very sensual, and it also takes care of cleanliness and you time.
And also, when we are further along in our evening, if I were to say, would you be willing to suck my toes? You might be more open to it because I've had my bath. And I'd be more open to it because I'd had my
And I'll
bath.
say, I have a hard no about toes that have been in
Dirty
shoes,
toes?
socks, or on the ground all day without being cleaned before they're
Yeah.
going in my mouth.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you also took that bath. And maybe I suspected that request could come. So I was also making sure for my own desires and
Ooh,
to please my own sensual side.
great.
So what have we revealed? A little bit about consent and invitations,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit about knowing what you like and knowing what the other person likes. So the invitation is juicy to the one you're making it to.
Uh-huh.
Right. And we talked
and
about the
following through with
sensual
that. Yeah.
and the energetic
Yeah.
blueprint, right?
Yeah.
And so the same invitations could be made if you were making the invitation and I was a sexual,
Mm-hmm.
it was my primary blueprint. You might make the same invitation, but say, if you run a bath for me while we're getting the kids out the house, and I can spend 15 minutes on my own with soft music in the bath and some oils in it, I would be interested in doing 3 of your favorite sexual activities afterwards. And then there isn't a sexual in the world that will not make that bath to the specific temperature that you requested with just the right music, candles, and oils in it. Because that's how you talk to a sexual is, this will happen if you can do this. And it's not that you're bartering or negotiating.
No, it's not a barter or
it's just that the
negotiating. It's
sexuals
like,
really
that
like to know,
sounds great.
am I
That'll
having
ground
sex?
me.
Yeah.
That'll prime me for being willing and
Yeah.
able and have the capacity, be resourced
Yeah.
enough really to then be like, oh, good. So now what will my lover want? Oh, I
Yeah.
know just what he'd love. And now I feel resourced and refreshed and clean and all the things.
Yeah.
And he took such good care of me that now I really want to give those things,
And
right?
sexual will run that bath.
Yeah.
You might even wipe the hairs off the bathtub first before they
Well, I
fill it
hope
with
so.
water.
Yeah.
Well, we don't always all think of that kind of thing.
Oh my God, it's almost 3 o'clock.
All right. Time to
So
end.
wow, we got pretty far into that. So we did our intro, we did the pleasure first practice. Thank you
Mhm.
very much for that.
You're very welcome.
And the topic and tools of the day, we just shared a whole bunch of those. If we were on live, we would typically do a Q&A. Like you could ask us specifics, like could you be more clear, or could you show us how, blah, 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 talk to us about this. And then we typically would wrap up with wins, insights, or learning. So just to model that, why don't we do that, Dan? So tell me, Dan, a
Yes.
win, insight, or learning that you've had from this session of Thriving Life.
Well, I will confess
I
to
just want you
you.
to be this way, so I'm not always looking away from them. I want it to be more
Thank
like
you.
this.
I'm not very TV focused, conscious. I'm getting there. Well, you did ask me, I said I would come and be on today. And then about a half an hour before that, you said, would you do a pleasure first thing? And I said, I just had to say yes, because I am a yes person. And I was reviewing a contract at my desk. And I was like, oh, when am I going to have time to do this? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm going to have to just kind of wing it.
Yeah.
And on my way here, I was thinking about, well, what's going on for me? Like, oh, I haven't really had a good full breath yet today. I've been doing a lot of things.
Right.
So I will just do that. I was either going to do a shake your body out or do that breathing thing. So a win for me, or an insight for me, was realizing how quickly I can teach that breath, that I could pretend I'm teaching something for somebody else, but I'm really doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And I could, and in just a few minutes, I could reset my nervous system by fully oxygenating it in that way.
Right. So nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Gabrielle, tell me a win or an insight or a learning that you had today from today's show.
Let's see. I think a win is that today, also in the same, like we're just getting back from the trip and we're trying to catch up on all the things. And I had my quick little nap and I was looking at my watch and I was like, oh, I haven't even announced that it's going live. I should put that up. So I took care of a whole bunch of things and then got the Zoom ready to go when it was 2 o'clock. And I received a text from a friend who said, I'm up the street at the coffee shop. Want to come by and say hi if you have a break. And I really needed another cup of coffee. I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I did. I got up there. I got the coffee. I had some time with my friend. And then we got back here in time to start the show on time. And normally that is not how it goes for me. It's more like, oh, there's so much to do. It's much more stressful. And so my win is, here's the summarize that. I can do what needs to be done efficiently and without stress, without the stress.
Thank you.
It can be easy.
Thank you.
Tell me,
We're going to do more of these? All right. I thought it was a 3 o'clock ending.
It is. Okay. It's a 3 o'clock
My
ending.
energetic makes boundaries.
Yeah. Well, so there is a demonstration of how we might wrap up the show typically, or any session, actually. Pretty much a workshop, we would do that, and with a coaching session, like what's your win, insight, or learning from today's session.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're always so rich, and it's a nice way to ground them into the week and days and hours ahead. So anyway, Dan, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. I hope you'll invite me back.
I will. And thank you all for being here and watching. And if you want to share something in the YouTube chat, please feel free to do so. And you can always reach out to me through Instagram at GabrielleSenza.com, or sorry, Gabrielle Senza Studio on Instagram, or More Pleasure Please. .com. Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Thanks so much. Goodbye, everyone. I love you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.